All right, I believe we're recording. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to interview Becky Rogers of Training Think Tank. Thank you, Becky, so much for having an interview with us today. Becky is my coach, my personal coach, and also mentor. And I've been kind of following Training Think Tank for a really long time. The owner, Max L. Haig, is kind of one of the people in the strength and conditioning industry that I really look up to, and I really support all of the knowledge and information and research that those guys do. So when I saw Becky was on board doing pre and postnatal and also working with women who had hormonal issues, I was like, yes, that is the coach for me. How can I be coached by her? And so postnatal after Thor, I really, really just wanted to be coached by her also because I wanted to pick her brain a lot. So anyway, um, this is Becky. I'm going to let her introduce herself a little bit more. So first, I'm just going to have you tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, your occupation, your specialty, your experience, and all that fun jazz.
All right, so I'm Becky. I've been working at Training Think Tank for 2 years now. We moved down here February of 2 years ago. My background is actually in mechanical engineering. That's what I went to college for, and I have a master's degree in that. But it's one of those things where you go through school and you kind of realize that that's not really what you're passionate about and what like drives you and something that you look forward to every day. So that's kind of how I got into training with people. I started out in CrossFit at a little CrossFit gym in our town. And as that kind of got bigger and my role got bigger, my husband and I decided that we were going to open our own gym. So we did that. We started out in our garage. We had a little baby at that time, which was super convenient. I could go out and work in the garage, do my workouts while my husband, Adam, was inside with Owen. And eventually we decided to open our own space. So we had our own gym. It was a CrossFit gym. We also did individual type programming for our athletes and clients. And that kind of led us down the path to working at Training Think Tank. Adam had programming from Max. And when Max decided to open his own business, he brought Adam on as a coach. There was no physical location of Training Think Tank, so we could stay in Ohio, and Adam worked for our gym and he worked for Max. And then eventually Max decided to put down some roots in Atlanta, and he wanted all of his coaches to come down there too. So he decided to hire me as well, and Adam and I, at this point, we had 2 kids, but they were young enough where we were like, all right, we can do this. So that's how we ended up down in Atlanta. And we kind of feel the same way about Max and his philosophy. You know, we're 100% on board with everything that he believes in and his views on training. And it's kind of what we were doing at our gym in Ohio already. So it was a good, we thought, stepping stone for us to be around all of the guys and all of the coaches down there and kind of learn and expand our knowledge as well.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Very
Yeah,
cool. It's
it was
exciting that Max has his, oh,
that I
sorry.
would be moving out of the Ohio, Pennsylvania area because that's where our family's from. But
And you had a gym there
we
first? So
did.
like you had outside of your garage, you opened another physical location before leaving?
Yeah, so we had a big gym. We took everything out of the garage. You know, we could finally park our cars in the garage. We were like, the gym is doing well. And then, like most of our decisions, our business training decisions, Adam has like led the way, and he's the one with the confidence, and he's the one with the foresight and the knowledge, like we can do this. So that we opened the gym, and then he thought that it would be the greatest opportunity to move down to Atlanta and work with all the guys. And I'm like, all right, if Adam says we can do it, we can do it. Let's go.
That's really awesome. That's super cool. Super scary,
Yeah.
absolutely. But very cool. It's just a really unique thing that you guys have going on, and I don't know if a lot of people know about it, but for those that do, I think it's just a really special little place and group of coaches. So
And I
very
think
cool.
that all of us, each of us individually as coaches, bring our own knowledge and experience and training style. And that's a lot of the reason why I wanted to be a part of it, is because I felt like I had not like a unique view, but like I'm a girl and I'm a mom, and not very many people down there on our staff are those things. I'm the only one. So I
Yeah,
wanted
exactly. Back at it here recording. So, I guess we'll just kind of dive in with some of our questions. So, we've had questions from our private Facebook group from moms that just I let them know we were talking, and so we came up with some questions, but also just personally, some interesting things that I would like to know. So, the first question is in regards to training. So you guys are doing all basically individual program design, well, mostly, I guess, for remote clients and some on-site. But when you're working with males and females, and I'm not sure if you have a load of both. I know you have females, but what is the main difference that you focus on in training males versus females?
As far as like physical, like exercise selection, I think that females can and should do every movement that males do. My higher level CrossFit athletes, they do just as many reps, strict handstand push-ups, just as many muscle ups as the guys. I think that from a kind of beginner training standpoint, females definitely need to focus more on upper body strength, pulling, pushing, every direction, every variation. So with my female athletes, I like to do some sort of push-pull movements at least 3 days a week. The variance and the exercise selection just depends on where they are in their athletic path. So beginners, it's just real simple: pull up negative, bench press, push ups, bent over rows. Higher level, it's muscle up, strict handstand push ups, deficit push ups, still bench press. I like to bench press a lot, but I think that that's the biggest difference from a training standpoint, is that females just need more upper body strength. From kind of a mental standpoint, everything outside of the gym, I think that females are super driven, but they're also super hard on themselves, and they're always feeling like they're not doing enough, or they could be doing more, or they're disappointing somebody. And males just kind of put their heads down, they do the work, and they're in and they're out, and they don't really stress out about their performance so much. But that's kind of, I think, the unique thing about training females, is that they just kind of need that little bit of extra support outside of the gym in their training.
Yeah, that's an awesome point. Um, yeah, with the differences between males and females, I've definitely noticed that in the past too. There's a whole nother layer, so to speak, and maybe it is for males too, and they don't express it as well, but it's definitely another mental layer in there. Um, so, when you're taking on a new female, is there anything that you assess specifically for, I was going to say postnatal, but just women in general? Is there any type of assessment that you do that's any different, or um, anything like that?
Yeah, I usually do the same assessment for males and females. It just depends on the level of athlete they are. But
Hmm.
certain points that I really try to drive home and really try to look at with females, a real basic one is just breathing. So I think as females and moms especially, we are very tense and we are very anxious and we are very go, 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 go. So our breathing is real shallow. We don't know how to breathe from our belly. We don't know how to ever relax all of those muscles. So I try to focus and look at breathing, laying on the floor, eyes closed. What does that look like?
Hmm.
Then focus on how to breathe through your belly into your chest, and then the opposite, how to relax your pelvic floor muscles when you're inhaling, and how to bring everything up whenever you're exhaling. And then I try to look at core strength. I think moms especially, we have babies and then everything is different, and sometimes we don't train and try to get our core and posterior chain working the way that it should and used to. So I try to see how people brace their abs when they're standing, because if they can't brace their abs when they're standing, how are they going to brace whenever they have a barbell on their back or when they're trying to lift weight? And I think that a lot of females think bracing just means sucking in their breath and holding in everything and then doing some work, where you have to kind of teach them it's this ab muscle right down here, and you contract it, and you should still be able to talk, and you should still be able to breathe because you have to do things. So I have this whole progression that I go through as far as hollow holds and trying to keep a good shape laying on the floor before you even get to standing, and then you get to using the weight. And I also think that glute strength is another one that I try to really hammer home with females.
Yeah.
Again, from like having a baby standpoint, those muscles kind of get turned off whenever you have that big old belly.
Next question is for moms. This would be postnatal specific, those that have diastasis recti or prolapse or any leaking. I know leaking is like the hot topic in CrossFit world right now, so I'm sure we each probably have all of our opinions on that. But I think even like you said in assessment, like can you embrace core glutes without properly, and then a lot of coaches just forget that that's so important and we don't want to spend the time to work on it because it's boring or they don't want to talk about it or whatever. I mean, for a variety of reasons, but like
Right.
it's super, super crucial. But anyway, so speaking on along those lines, if you had somebody who is still struggling from postnatal symptoms, like a diastasis or prolapse or leaking or whatever, is there anything that you would say is like a definite no? And I know that that's a loaded question, so.
Yeah, definitely. I wrote down it depends. That's all. One thing that the more I read, right, the more that we train clients, the more that we read and understand all of the crazy things that go into pregnancy and having babies and what we are comfortable with dealing with and what we are not comfortable with dealing with, I recommend somebody go see a pelvic floor therapist right away. I think I just started going to see one, and my youngest is almost 3, and I thought to myself, I recommend this to people all the time. I have some weird symptoms still hanging around. I should probably take my own advice and go see somebody. So that is step number one. I would recommend as soon as you feel able and are willing, go find a pelvic floor therapist to kind of
Yeah,
give you their diagnosis, because it could be so many things. It could be weak muscles or too strong muscles or anything in between.
exactly.
Right. From a training standpoint, it's always the answer is always it depends, right? I never say no, you can never do that, because that might be a movement that that client feels is part of them. I don't want to say you can never run again if you have a prolapse, because they might be a runner, and that's kind of defeating and like
Yeah.
sad for someone. I think one of the general no's as far as diastasis and during pregnancy is you just don't want to crunch, and you don't want to do anything that creates that pressure where you see the coning and you see things poking through your belly. And that, I think, is just from a safety standpoint, you don't want to ever have that happen.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think it's about working with somebody and creating that trust and the fact that they feel like you're listening to them and
Hang
you're
on.
not just going to say no
Hello.
right away.
Sorry. Hang on 2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, am I back?
You're back.
Okay, my dog just pulled out my microphone. Awesome. Such is mom life. The dog life is almost harder. No, kidding. But anyway, no, I think that's awesome. And yeah, my first inclination is always like, can we send somebody to pelvic floor physical therapy first so we actually know what we're working with? Because it's really hard to diagnose based on symptoms because it can be so many different things.
Yeah.
But like you said, the definite things we're looking for is coning. Are your symptoms getting worse or worse? Like, is your incontinence getting worse? So stuff like that. But yeah, that's a great take on that. So along the same lines, but a slightly different. So hormonally, I know like I was listening to, I don't know if Max was talking about it or somebody, but they were like, basically everyone whose hormones are like totally fucked up, we're just gonna send them to Becky. Um, because female hormones and training people, and I know that's not true because they definitely work with people who probably have an array of issues
Yes.
also. But can you tell us more about how you're training athletes that have, hormone imbalance?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell unless they get lab work, right? And it's crazy because you could feel awesome and have really, really bad lab work, and you could feel like crap and have really good lab work. So even
Yeah.
that, it has its limitations. The things that I always like to use as a checklist for people, male and female, are things like, how is your sleep? Do you sleep well? Do you wake up all the time? Are you stressed out? Your energy levels when you wake up, your energy levels midday, your energy levels at night, how your hunger is. If you wake up,
Okay. So sleep, hunger.
Yeah, so hungry, you want to wake up hungry, and then just overall like workout performance, right? If we're athletes, you want to gauge your progress by how you are in the gym.
Hmm.
So if those three, four things are good and you feel like you have energy and you're hungry when you wake up, you're hungry throughout the day, you feel like you're killing it in the gym, you're sleeping awesome, then like just keep doing what you're doing. And it's not, we don't need to dive too deep into
Hmm.
cortisol and
Right.
estrogen and blood work like that. I think if things start getting off the rails and you start feeling tired and sleepy and you just don't want to do anything all day, then things to check are just like your nutrition and what you're eating before, you can go to a doctor and you can see what your thyroid is doing or see what your estrogen, testosterone, those kind of reproductive hormones
Hmm.
are, your levels. But, you
Are
know,
you along that same line? Sorry to interrupt you, but so if somebody starts getting where they're not getting sleep, or they're not waking up hungry, or their workouts are just, I don't know, not like going stagnant, are you then a proponent of kind of pulling back and reassessing, um, like resting more, even though they don't want to hear that?
yeah,
Or so are you tough love, or are you kind of like, well, you're the master of your fate?
yeah.
So what's your
Like
opinion?
if it's like a recent change, right? Like all of a sudden I'm not sleeping well. It's
Yeah.
has something changed with your job? Has something changed with your relationship with your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, your kids? Has something changed with your nutrition? Are you purposely not eating enough because you feel like you need to lose a couple pounds because the open is coming and you want to look good with your shirt? Anything. It could be a number of things. So if it's a recent change like that, it's helpful to look back at the last couple weeks and see, oh yeah, I have this project coming up at work. I'm really stressed out about it. And from my end, what I would try to do is I'm very rarely a tough love kind of person. I'm very much listen to your body, and I think coming from training females and myself included, we're very hard on ourselves and we try to do five different things well during the day. And training is our time where we can be by ourselves and get our workout in. But if it's adding to your stress and it's adding to, your fatigue, it's something that you might need to step back and do like easy cyclical day, do some mobility. You don't need to do a hard 10-minute workout where you
Hmm.
feel like you need to lay down on the floor for 5 minutes afterwards.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes, like, I think a lot of it kind of goes back to nutrition more than training. So I usually try to go down that path first. And then that's kind of client dependent. Like, they're kind of, I can't force them to eat something or I can't make them eat. So I try to do stuff where like what is not in my control, I try to make people aware of. The training thing is one thing that I'm in control of. So if I have to, I will definitely modify that if I think, well,
yeah.
I can't do anything else. I can't get them to go to sleep earlier. I can't make them eat their carbs before bed. So then it's like, all right, well, we got to dial back the training a little bit.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, have you ever worked with any athletes that have amenorrhea, or like I think we were thinking in the small group we were talking about people that had both PCOS, amenorrhea, so like menstrual dysregularities, and would you change their training based on these types of issues?
The one with PCOS, the one thing that is kind of beneficial for training is that those athletes build muscle real easily. They get stronger real fast and they become more powerful real quickly. The negative thing is kind of all the other effects of that, like higher testosterone. So it's kind of easier to put on weight, and the weight that you get is kind of around your midsection, which is not the weight that you want. So from that standpoint, it's kind of like again, it's more nutrition based. Those people tend to be more insulin resistant, so sometimes a lower carb diet works better. But then if you're doing a lower carb diet, you can't train really hard and you can't push and push and push and dip into your glycogen stores every day. So those types of athletes, just lifting is good. I think
Yeah.
physical activity is helpful for anyone. And then PCOS, just
Okay, we're back.
yeah, so PCOS is like lower carb, probably higher fat, lift, lift, lift. Like you're okay. I think it's important to build that bone mineral density. It's important to lift heavy weight, heavy relatively speaking, but
Hmm.
not just 20 reps of little tiny baby dumbbells. And from lack of a period standpoint, that's kind of, again, it depends on a lot of different things, but I would also probably attack that from a nutrition standpoint and see, is their body fat really low? Are they not eating enough? And try to get them sleeping better, get them lower stress levels, work on recovery, all of that. And then training wise, it's pretty much the same thing. Lift and do a little bit of quote unquote cardio. But yeah, as always, it's like, is it a recent thing? Is it a new development? What in your life has changed between then and now? And then also, always go see your doctor if there's any really in-depth questions.
Right, right. That's cool. And it's hard too because like if you're working with people at a very high level, like let's say they want to go to regionals and you're working with somebody who's got hormonal issues and you want them to either back down or eat differently, I know it can be a huge struggle to and then it's like, okay, well, are you going to pay the price and not have a period for like 2 years while you're going to be super competitive and win the games? Or, and I know it's not an either or, but we often think about performance versus health, and they're on very opposite sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, I'm lucky that my clients are like us. They're not super high level because I don't. It is you have to make those sacrifices and those trade offs, and I think that in the sport of CrossFit, it's almost like you are dipping into that unhealthy range, and that is what needs to happen to succeed. So yeah, I'm glad that for the most part, my clients are just regular people that they want to be healthy, and they just want to train because they like it, but they also have other stuff going on that we also have to like fit into their lives too.
Yeah, very cool. Is there any one common theme that you see among all your female athletes?
Um, I think that females are. I think I talked about this earlier, but I think they're hard on themselves. They have expectations, which is good. Like you always want to have goals and you want to strive to be better. But I think that they have trouble leaving their performance in the gym. So like we're getting ready to start the open. The first week is always an emotional mess. And
Yeah.
it's usually my females that I am texting like off the ledge, like you are okay. It's one workout. We can come back from this. The guys are like, yeah, I did fine. I fucked up. Like here's what I'm gonna say. Like their head they leave it. They're done once they walk out of the gym. The girls are the ones that dwell on it. But it's something that I admire, right? Like it's something that we have so many like hats that we wear. We're moms, we have jobs, we're athletes, and I think that every one of my clients does a rock star job at managing everything that they do. And I think that we could all be a little bit easier on ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. Um, so our girls are wondering, is there any major coaching tips that you would give women or females or moms in general?
um, I, the one big one I think is don't live like in the extremes. Like it's not all or nothing. I used to get so mad when I couldn't get my whole workout in. I would feel like it's wasted. Like if I had to break it up or if I had to miss something, and it's taking me. Owen is almost 6, so it's taken me to get to the point where I am honestly doing my best, and sometimes life just gets in the way. And however your life, whatever your situation is right now, 3 months from now, it's going to be different, I guarantee. 6 months from now, it's going to be different. 9 months from now, it's going to be different. So
Yeah.
do what you can now. It's not about like, don't listen to the people that are like, oh, if it's important to you, you will make time for it. And also don't listen to the people that are like, oh, I'm so busy, I can't do it all.
Yeah.
I I always tell people like you can probably have three priorities in your life that you can do really well in a day. Usually it's family, work, and probably most of the people listening to this is training. And just do those three things really, really well. And sometimes training
Yeah.
might get bumped down for something else, and that's okay. It's all right. Life
Yeah.
will go on, and then you can put training back up in the top three whenever the problem that you're having to deal with is over
Yeah.
with.
It's funny how you talk about how times change because I remember, okay, so I had gone to, I think it was an open prep camp or something, I don't know, with Max, or it was just a performance camp. It was something in Minnesota, and I brought my dad with just so he could, get exposed to the CrossFit world in a little different fashion. But I remember my biggest takeaway from that was like, Corey, your warm ups suck. Like, because I was notorious for just like grabbing the barbell and lifting. And I was like, okay, like if I'm actually going to do this grid league thing, I need to warm up and I need to do my stuff. So I had like built this huge program of like warming up, right? And don't get me wrong, when I did it, my workouts were great, but this was before kids. Then once I had Thor, I was like, warm up what? Oh yeah, that's just a couple reps with the bar again, and there we go. We're back into the workout. It's funny how your priorities change, but you have to like be okay with that. Do I know that my warm-ups aren't ideal? Yeah. But it's either that or don't get your workout in. And I'd rather get to the meat and bones of my workout. So,
I'm like, right, you're like at the year mark, and I'm at the year mark. It's different. Now he can handle himself, and I can work out all that I want to. And you
yeah.
look back and you're like, oh man, I remember when life was hard like that. But it's not. It's over so fast, and then your kids are big, and you're like, oh my God, where's my baby? I kind of miss my baby. Yeah.
Yes, this
So
is true. This is
ever
true.
like I appreciate like mom support and like mom groups and mom everything, but like build each other up. Don't be saying, "Oh,
Yes.
I can do it. Why can't you?" I don't like that
Yeah,
attitude.
no, and everyone's situation is so unique. I just think whatever you can give passion to, just anything, even for small amounts of time, is like super awesome, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. At our open camp this past weekend, Brandon had a really good talk, and it was protect what is precious to you, and it's very few things when you think about it. What are very, very precious to you? Like put your effort into that.
Yeah, totally, totally. Um, okay, so I have one more question that rolled in, and then I think that's a lot of questions for today. Holy cow. But anyway, talking masters athletes, females that are like 50 plus. So we're talking like potentially postmenopausal, menopausal women. So the questions I think that came up were one, what is the capacity of somebody who is of that age? And two, are we able to get gains being that age and hormonal profile, and just your general opinion on what's possible and maybe like kind of the best training method to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a 50-year-old female that just started working with me a few months ago. She's a CrossFit athlete, and she's phenomenal. She pretty much beats me in every workout that she ever does. You know what I mean? So sky is the limit as far as what you can do when you're older. I think as far as the hormonal side of things, once you go through menopause, I think that some kind of like hormone replacement therapy is something that you definitely want to talk to your doctor about, because it'll kind of the benefits of still having some estrogen as opposed to higher testosterone related to those hormones is something that long term is a good thing. I would definitely talk to your doctor because I am not a doctor, but again, I think it all comes back to lift heavy so that your bones get stronger, and do a little bit of physical activity like throughout the day. Don't just spend an hour in the gym. Like get out and go for walks, or get a dog so that you can be more active, stuff like that. But I don't think that age really has anything to do with how hard or not hard you can train. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you look at the CrossFit Games athletes, and those women are pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's gonna cut you off here really fast, and then I'm gonna push play again. Okay, so Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, do you think, like, so as far as the masters go without hormone replacement therapy, I mean, you are working with a different hormone profile. Do you think that changing lifestyle, changing training, you could work around non-hormone replacement therapy and just still get stronger, still
Yeah.
get fitter? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so if you don't do the hormone replacement therapy and you're kind of lower in estrogen or no estrogen, lower in progesterone, you have that hormonal profile that's kind of like PCOS, right? Like your testosterone is higher relative.
Yep.
So you're going to build muscle, you're going to get stronger. Again, the negative comes into like the insulin resistance and where you store fat and how the implications for that for cardiovascular disease and in
Right.
the long term. But yeah, I think that a lot of it is how you deal, like how you are when you think about your situation. Are you like, okay, I'm all right. I can still do this. I can still do everything that I've been doing. Or if you're depressed, like, oh, things are different now. I can't be the same. So
Yeah.
it is mental too.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, I think that's really helpful. Um, so that's all I've got. Do you have anything else? I'm sure I have a million other questions I could ask you, but I don't want to keep you on here forever.
All right. This is
Um,
the only time that I talk to girls. Like I'm surrounded by boys all day.
I was gonna say that. I was like, who at Training Think Tank's gonna take Becky and be like, let's talk about periods. Let's talk about postpartum.
that I
Like
wanted
I'm
to
probably
say.
the only person to ask you these questions.
Yeah, cool. There's a new book that I'm reading. It's by Lyle McDonald and Eric Helms called The Women's Book, Volume One. So I think there's Volume Two coming out.
Okay,
But
cool.
it's massive, but
Uh-huh.
it's super, super in depth and insightful. So if anybody has time to read like a 440-page book, but it's definitely worth it.
That's awesome. So say the title of that again.
The
Just
Women's Book,
the women's
Volume
book.
One.
Okay. Cool. I heard somebody was just reading that. I don't remember where I saw it, but yeah, that's awesome. Very cool.
There's another book. I don't remember the author, but it's called Roar. You just Google it on Amazon.
Yeah.
There's a girl on the cover. It's a dark cover called Roar. That's another good one to read too.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, this is super insightful. Um, yeah, thanks so much for meeting with us,
Yeah.
and I'm
I
gonna
will do it again anytime. Like you get more questions.
Yay!
We
We'll
can do
get
it.
more questions. We'll do more interviews. This will be awesome. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I'm going to cut the interview. And so just hang on a second. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.